Hello, Flat Earth researchers, debaters and debunkers. A lot of people that argue with Flat Earthers might or might not be aware that they are defending an abstract concept or a mathematical model, rather than having any measurable, tangible proof of actually being on a physical globe. To do so, they have to redefine certain words, such as down and level, and interpret observations to fit with their specific definitions according to the globe model that they are defending, instead of accepting or understanding, as the truth seeker does, that various models are possible and that definitions are interchangeable, depending on a point of view or bias. So always keep in mind that level Earth deniers defending the globe only ever talk in terms of the globe concept rather than reality. For example, defining down as towards the centre of a spherical Earth, so that flying around the imaginary circle in a curve at a consistent height above the surface is still referred to as level. Another tactic often employed in defence of level Earth deniers that rely solely on mathematical models to support their belief is to assume that anyone questioning the globe doesn't have the mental capacity to understand the globe concept or isn't very good at maths. Thus, they assume their mathematical acumen or knowledge of navigation methods makes them smarter and more superior than flat earthers, when in fact all you have to understand is that the geometry of Pythagorean circles doesn't fit with reality, and that mathematical models are simply descriptions that can be interpreted in a variety of different ways, just as any spoken or written language can be used to describe both fact and fiction. Have a listen to this clip by pilot Wolfie6020, whose comments you saw just now, and who steadfastly defends the notion of flying around a ball Earth by always talking in terms of the globe Earth model. Here he explains what's being modelled on his aircraft's instrument panel compared to what he sees out of the window through the heads-up display, and you'll hear how he interprets it only according to the globe model.
At this point, I'll just explain the difference between a standard artificial horizon and the head-up display indication. A standard artificial horizon will show zero pitch at true horizontal, and that's what we are seeing here. Now, the head-up display is showing the horizon line, which is this line. That is at eye level. It is horizontal to the pilot's eyes, and we can see that the Earth horizon, in this case high altitude cloud, is below horizontal.
Okay, I'll just stop it there. We will come back to this clip at the end of this video, but what I often argue with Wolfie about is this definition of horizontal and eye level, and Wolfie often uses this kind of photograph here where we see the horizontal line on the heads-up display being referred to as eye level, and then the horizon that we see in front of us is below this horizontal line, which is being defined as eye level. And it really does just come down to, as I said, the way it is interpreted. So let's just go back to this bit here where we're looking at the instrument panel. So as he said, we've got this standard looking artificial horizon here, which is in line with this horizontal line to represent level for the aircraft. And then we have the flight path indicator here. So this shows that the aircraft is in line with its horizontal flight path. It is flying straight and level according to the flight path, whatever height that is above the horizon, which in this case above the Earth, which in this case is I think 51,000 feet. But we can see here that this indicates the pitch of the aircraft. So the aircraft's nose is actually pitched up slightly. It has to be at this height just to maintain level flight. It doesn't actually fly horizontally, it flies pitched up, but the flight is level. It's essentially a parallel line with the surface. But of course, because this is a digital display, it can display it in any way that it sees fit, and of course it knows that the aircraft is flying straight and level in accordance with the flight plan, so it indicates that the aircraft is on this horizontal line. But as you can see here, he then shows us that there's another way you can look at it.
A standard artificial horizon will show zero pitch at true horizontal.
Okay, so he's saying it's showing zero pitch, but the aircraft is actually pitched up. Nevertheless, it is flying in a straight horizontal line. So that's just the display is just giving him that information regardless of the attitude of the actual aircraft.
And that's what we are seeing here. Now, the head-up display is showing the horizon line, which is this line. That is at eye level. It is horizontal to the pilot's eyes. And we can see that the Earth horizon, in this case high altitude cloud, is below horizontal. Now with the Global 7500, we actually have two modes available for this artificial horizon. We have standard mode, which looks like that, or we have synthetic vision mode, which puts the horizon in a more realistic position. So this is horizontal. The flight path vector is on that line because the aircraft is cruising at a level altitude.
Okay, so yeah, it's cruising at a level altitude. It's basically going parallel to the surface. And this gap here represents the aircraft's altitude above the surface. And one thing that is also worth pointing out with the horizontal line on this artificial horizon is that this line will move up and down depending on what the aircraft is doing. So it moves up and down within the display. So this particular horizontal line, yes, it does represent eye level in terms of the globe Earth model that it is working off, but it is not at the pilot's eye level, just as the pilot has to look down to this display. So very important to keep that in mind. But what this shows us is that yes, you can have this globe model being displayed on the instrument panel or on the heads-up display to show this distance from the surface, but without perspective that would usually bring that horizon of the surface up to our eye level. And so this is of course where we get this confusion of the term eye level. This clip will help us see why referring to this horizontal line as eye level might be confusing. Yes, it does represent eye level, i.e. the height of the aircraft above the surface. And we can see here that the flight path indicator is in line with this horizontal line on the heads-up display, which is showing us the view of an Airbus cockpit simulator. And we can see that the aircraft is pitched up, but it is going along its level flight path. But what we'll see this horizontal line do now is that it will rise up in the display itself. And so while it does represent the aircraft's level in relation to the pitch and the flight path indicator, it actually goes up and down within the display. So this might be called eye level to represent the aircraft's position above the surface, but it is not always at the pilot's eye level. So this horizontal line can in a heads-up display, can quite easily appear above or below the visual horizon that the pilot sees at his or her eye level. And even though this is referred to as eye level, it isn't at the pilot's eye level because it's constantly going up and down in the screen. So the horizontal line that we saw in the heads-up display, which was referred to as eye level or the aircraft's true level, probably works in a similar way using similar coding and equations to this curvature app by Walter Bislin, which gives us a simulation of being above a globe Earth or a flat Earth. So what we have here is this pink line representing eye level, and we can adjust our height above the surface, and we see that there's an increasing gap between eye level and the surface. So let's put it at about 15,000 meters, which is about the same as the 51,000 feet that we saw in the aircraft. So this, you can see, is a representation, an illustration of the aircraft's height or altitude, which is referred to as eye level above the surface of the Earth. We could zoom in on this gap, and of course it would get bigger if we were able to do that. And so this perhaps takes into account the difference in angular size that you might see over a distance, and of course then we know that you've got that more height gives you a greater distance to the horizon. Now that is all based on this Pythagorean theorem here. So what's really important to understand here is that we're looking at a comparison between two concepts that are illustrated in this conceptual way. And the debate or argument or confusion is often about the etymology of the word eye level, but it doesn't make any difference whatsoever. It doesn't matter which concept you hold in your mind, whether you assume that you are flying above a spherical Earth or above a level Earth. You can see that both are illustrated here in this conceptual way. And also keep in mind that the word concept is something that is held in the mind. It's just an idea. It's not reality. And it doesn't matter whether you are flying at a consistent height above a level Earth or a spherical Earth in this conceptual illustration. Your eye level or your height above the surface of the Earth doesn't change. The only thing that changes is whether you conceive that you are flying in a straight line that is parallel to a level surface, or whether you are flying in a curved line going around a curve. But in this kind of illustration, as long as you are maintaining the same height above the surface, then you are maintaining what is referred to as level, because level is referred to as perpendicular to down, and in this case down is towards the center of a spherical Earth of a fixed dimension. Now those fixed dimensions are simply the circumference of the equator. So of course you can conceptualize the circumference as being on a level Earth and you have this circle, or you can conceptualize the circumference of the Earth, or where the sun goes around above the equator, as being around a spherical Earth. And so that is converted into this spherical Earth here, which can be up, down, sideways, left, right, east, west, or whatever you want to label it as. So conceptually, we can conceive any manner of ways that we are flying above the Earth, and we can conceive that it is a spherical Earth or a level Earth, and it makes no difference as long as you understand the difference between the meaning of level in the real world and level as part of a concept where you can go around this sphere and say that you maintain level flight because you're maintaining a consistent distance above the surface. So what's also clear from this is that you don't have to have any kind of mathematical skills to be able to perceive and understand that these two different concepts can be illustrated or described mathematically in the language of mathematics. Whether or not you are fluent in that language makes no difference. You understand that the two different concepts can be modeled mathematically, and really it makes no difference whatsoever which concept you hold in your mind. So whether you believe that you are plotting a course for a flight plan across a level Earth or a spherical Earth makes no difference to the concept that you hold in your mind. You're still going to get from one place to another depending on which concept is being used. And as long as you stick to that same concept, regardless of the actual shape of the Earth or the true dimensions of the Earth, you'll get where you need to go. If you are mathematically skilled and have the ability to plot these courses depending on the concept that you're following. But physically it makes no difference, because all we're talking about here is the height of the aircraft or the observer above the surface of the Earth, and it doesn't change regardless of which concept you hold in your mind. And so we can see that this can be then manipulated to give us this projection or illustration or model of what's happening above the spherical or level Earth from the point of view of someone who is actually above the Earth. So, of course, this is an accurate illustration of the mathematical concept that we saw below. Here it is above a globe Earth, and we can see that these lines going off into the distance are appearing to converge, although they would be parallel. We've got this conversion to non-Euclidean geometry where parallel lines appear to converge. So this kind of represents perspective in the way that we've got this angular size difference that's decreasing as we go off to the limit of our vision. And so that kind of does represent how the surface appears to us in reality. But does this eye level line represent what we actually see in reality? Now you can change it to this FE model if you like, and you can see that we get a difference in the gap between eye level and the horizon. So this is attempting to illustrate what we might see, but you can see here that the lines represented here have been modeled differently to the natural perspective that we do see, which without the curve there appears is more like how we see the surface. So all of this, even though it's very accurate for the two different models that we see down here in terms of the angles and the assumed distance to the horizon, does any of this fit with reality? Keeping in mind that the horizon of a globe is supposed to be fixed. So we should see this drop occur as we rise up above the horizon. This illustration might well fit with the concept model down here, but does it fit with reality? Let's go and have a look at some footage of horizons taken with drones.